the Peasants' Revolt. Now, the poll tax helped to cause the Peasants' Revolt because the peasants thought, quite rightly, that it was very unfair that the rich, with very, very much money, paid the exact same level of poll tax as the poor, who barely had any money. And so this caused them to feel like they needed to do something about it, and in this case they revolted. The villeins were unhappy that they had to work on the Lord's land for nothing, work service for free. They attended to their own crops, but a certain amount of days every week they had to work on the Lord's land by 1381, and they were just fed up with this. Of course, the freemen were furious as well, because after the Black Death they'd been able to get higher wages, and this meant their lives had been a little bit better. But of course the lords bend the king's ear and saying to the king, look, we're losing our money, and so the king and his advisors had decided to introduce the Statute of Labor Act, which meant that wages had to, by law, be the same as before the Black Death. This caused the Peasants' Revolt because, of course, the freemen saw that was completely unfair, and they should be getting wages which were fair for the time, the right for what they were being paid. And they saw these rich lords, who don't need more money, keeping their money greedily. So the villeins were upset about work service. All the peasants, everybody in the whole land, were furious about the poll tax. The freemen were annoyed about this Statute of Labor Act, and also the king was 14 years old, and so the peasants thought that he was very easily, or likely to be very easily influenced. They didn't necessarily blame the king, they blamed his advisors for advising him badly to make these decisions which they were all suffering from. And one thing, because all these things came together to cause the Peasants' Revolt, it's very rarely just one easy thing, but at the same time this was going on, there was a priest called John Ball going, wherever, preaching around the south of England, I believe, mostly, and saying that God made all men born equal. So there shouldn't be certain privileges for people just because they're richer than somebody else. Everything should be equal for everybody, everything should be fair. And so lots of peasants were like, yeah, this is right, so we shouldn't be having to suffer all of this that we have to suffer. And one thing led to another, and they marched to London to try to deal with this problem. I mean, it was unbelievable. I said 100,000 peasants all marched on London. It's enough to fill Wembley Stadium. It's an incredible event in our history. So yeah, those are the causes of the Peasant Revolt. Make sure, if you're going to be brilliant, you're going to use this meant that. It's my favourite connective.